All right, this is the second part explaining Act 1 of Raisin in the Sun. And we have this conversation between Ruth and Mama. So let's see from here. Yes, they're gonna start talking about the $10,000 check they will receive tomorrow. So Mama says, $10,000. And Ruth says, sure, it's wonderful. Mama, $10,000. Ruth, you know what you should do, Miss Lena? You should take yourself a trip somewhere to Europe or South America or something. So Ruth says that she feels that the mother deserves a rest, a vacation, and she suggested to Lena or to Mama to go to Europe or South America or any place to have a nice trip. Let's see if Mama likes this idea. Mama says, oh, child, Ruth, I'm serious. Just pack up and leave. Go on away and enjoy yourself some. Forget about the family and have yourself a ball for once in your life. Which means, يعني, enough just thinking about the family for 40 years. Um, think about yourself. You deserve a vacation. You deserve a trip. Take the money and go for a trip. And Mama says, you sound like I am just about ready to die. Who would go with me? What I look like wandering around Europe by myself? So she just finds this idea is really strange going in Europe by herself. She has never done that. And she doesn't like to do that. Ruth, shoot, they're here, rich white women do it all the time. They don't think nothing of packing up. They just suitcase and piling on one of them big steamships and ooh, they're gone. Because Ruth works in the houses of the rich white people and she sees that the white women often do that. They often pack their suitcase and just go away for trips and a picnic or somewhere and they just go for a vacation without thinking of the family or anything. So Mama says something always told me I wasn't so no rich white woman. She says, no, I'm not like the rich white woman. I don't want to do what they do. She always think of the family and sacrifices for the family. So this idea of going in a trip or vacation in Europe is not really suitable to Mama. Well, what are you going to do with it then? Mama, I ain't right decided. She hasn't decided yet. Some of it got to be put away for Benitha and her schooling, and ain't nothing going to touch that part of it. So she has already decided that part of this money is going to be put in the bank for Benitha's college, and nothing should touch that. It's really important. Nothing. You see, she's very firm about that. She wants her daughter to go to medical school. She likes it. She wants to support her. It's something that she will feel proud about to have a daughter who is a doctor. Been thinking that we may, here is very important. Yes, we may be thinking that we may could meet the notes on a little old two-story house somewhere with a yard where Travis could play in the summertime. If we use part of the insurance for a down payment and everybody kind of pitching it, I could maybe take on a little day work again a few days a week. Which means she says, we will take part of this money and pay a down pay. Down payment means مقدمة. And everybody kind of pitching in means of course each month they have to pay the rest of the money. So everybody could help. She will work, Ruth will work, Walter works, and they will pay each month the money for the house, and they will live in the house where there is a backyard where Travis could play. Each one has his own room and uh, comfortable house. That is her plan. Part of the money to go in the bank, put in the bank for Benita's college, and the other part to be paid as a down payment for a house. Ruth is saying, well, Lord knows we have put enough rent into this here rat trap to pay for 4 houses by now. They've been living in this house for all her life. She would say later on, Mama, that she comes to this house after her wedding, and they have been living here for 35 years. So Ruth says, we have been paying the rent on this house for 35 years. We collect that rent 35 years, we could have bought 4 houses by now. And and she described the house as a rat trap. Rat trap means mouse trap. So it's an ugly thing. And Mama, looking at a poor rat, she says rat trap, then looking around and leaning back. She's looking at the house and as Ruth described it as rat trap. Yes, that's all it is. She knows this house is not decent to live in. It's not nice. It's ugly. It's damp. It's cold. Dark. It's narrow, tight on this big family getting bigger. She says, I remember just as well the day me and Big Walter is the father, moved in here. Hadn't been married but 2 weeks. So she just married 2 weeks after her marriage. They moved to this apartment and wasn't planning on living here no more than a year. So they decided to stay here for 1 year, just مؤقت يعني temporary. We was going to set away little by little, don't you know, and buy a little place out in Morgan Park. They wanted to buy a house in a nicer place called Morgan Park. We had even picked out a house. They even selected the house they wanted to move into. Look right dumpy today. But Lord, child, you should know all the dreams I had about buying that house and fixing it up and making me a little garden in the back, and hadn't none of it happen. So all the dreams. So they went to that Morgan Park place and they found a house and they said, "Oh, that's a nice house. We'll have it." And she was always dreaming of, fixing that house and having a garden. And then all the dreams just gone. They could not buy that house. Ruth, yes, life can be a bird of disappointment sometimes. She is saying that because the mother says, I always wanted to have that house and I dreamed of having that house in Morgan Park, but then, they must have needed the money and use it in some way and they couldn't. So it's a disappointment. And Ruth says, yes, life is full of disappointment. And it might also refer to Ruth herself because when she gets married, maybe she had a dream of having a house and a nice life, and then she found herself in this apartment and it's difficult to manage life. So Ruth is also disappointed. Mama, honey, Big Walter would come in here sometimes back then and slump down on that couch there and just look at the rug and look at me and look at the rug and then back at me. And I know he was down there, really down. It's a very nice speech. She's remembering her husband coming back from work and hard and difficult to manage life things. And he would sit on the couch and he would look down on the ground and then he would look at his wife without talking. Then look at the ground and then look at his wife. He's not talking, but he's full of anger and disappointment. And I really know he was down there. She feels him very down at the bottom, very down, disappointed. And then, Lord, when I lost that baby, she's remembering when she lost her baby. Mama lost the baby, little Cloudy. I almost thought I was going to lose Big Walter because Big Walter was also in grief and sadness. Oh, that man grieved himself. He was one man to love his children. So it's very nice to talk about the father and that he loved his children. And when he lost his child, he felt himself lost. Ain't nothing can tear at you like losing your own baby. It's also important losing the baby because Ruth is pregnant and she's feeling maybe she should do an abortion and lose the baby. But then she feels maybe this is too much to do. So there's a struggle inside. Mama, I guess that's how come that man finally worked himself to death like he's done. So he just threw himself. We are talking about Big Water, the father. He threw himself on work like death, like he was fighting his own war that this hero war that took his baby from him. So he was working hard as if he wants to revenge upon the world that took his baby. It's a beautiful speech about the pain and the suffering and disappointment of Big Walter that he died fighting for his own family. And that's why the money, the life insurance should go to buying a house because this is his dream. He worked so hard to have, and he has never seen that dream. So the mother wants to do that dream as a kind of respect to the memory of her husband. Ruth, he sure was a fine man, all right. I always liked Mr. Younger. Mama crazy about his children, so he loved his children. God knows there was plenty wrong with Walter Younger. This is not Walter. This is speaking about the father. Hard-headed means very stubborn. He wouldn't change his mind. Mean, kind of wild with women. So he's a playful. He has women. Plenty wrong with him. But he sure loved his children. But something that is really good in this man, the father, he loved his children. He sacrificed for his children. Always wanted them to have something, be something. That's where brother get all these notions. I reckon. Big Walter used to say, he'd get right wet on the eyes sometimes, lean his head back with the water standing in his eyes and say, seemed like God didn't see fit to give the black man nothing but dreams, but he did give us children to make them dreams seem worthwhile. A very nice speech, very nice speech. She's remembering her husband when he would think, oh, my God did not give the black people money like the white, but he just gave us dreams. But then the father says, maybe because then we can help our children to make that dream true. This is why two things she is thinking of, Mama. First is the house, because this is what the father wants. And second is helping Benitha to be a doctor, because then the dream comes true. The child is becoming a doctor now. It's something that the family can be proud of. So this is why it's important, this thing for her. And Ruth says, yes, he sure could. He was a good man, Mr. Younger. Yes, a fine man, just couldn't never catch up with his dream, that's all. He could never fulfill his dream. So this is very important speech here because we can see how the father lived and what did he do and what was his dream that he wishes to give to the family, but he could never do. And Mama, the strong woman, would like determined, firm to do those dreams that the father could never fulfill. Now here, Bennett is going to come, enters, and there is a very interesting dialogue between them who would like to see what's about. Right. So let's go to Mama here saying, Benny, which is a short form for Benitha. Ruth, just listen to her. Just listen. Benitha, oh God. Why? She says, oh God, because Benitha hears the vacuum cleaner of the neighbor, the second floor, up above the apartment of Mama and Benitha and everybody living. So the apartment above them is a cleaning. The woman is a cleaning and she's making noise. Of course, it's the vacuum cleaner making noise. And Benitha says, "Oh God, she's cleaning again." And Mama says, if you use that Lord name just one more time, this is also shows how religious Mama is because she does not want anyone to mention the word God just like because he's angry or he's annoyed, and then he mentioned the word God. It's not religious to mention God again and again. You just need to mention God when in certain time, in certain situations, because it's a valuable word. It's a sacred word. You cannot use it again and again like that. So she warns Benitha, don't mention the Lord's name. And Benitha, oh mama, she doesn't like it because she's a different generation. She doesn't understand what mama means with that. She doesn't approve it. And Ruta says just a fresh assault to this girl, which means this girl is just very young, is just very young. She doesn't know about God and religion. And Benitha says, well, if the salt loses its savoy. This line, if the salt loses its savoy, it's a biblical line. It's a line from the Bible. It says, if the salt loses its saltness, it is no more salt. It's a line in the Bible. And Benitha is using it, but changing it. If salt loses its savoy, she's playing with a line in the Bible. She likes, this is she represents a younger generation who's rebellious, who's against all traditions and against religion, and they don't believe in God, they don't believe in the Bible. So she's behaving like that. Mama says, now that will do. I just ain't going to have you around here reciting scriptures, which means the Bible, in vain. You hear me? So you never say a biblical line just for fun and change that Bible line sentence from the Bible just for fun. I don't accept you doing that. That's what Mama says. Vanessa says, how did I manage to get on everybody's wrong side by just walking into a room? Ruth, if you weren't so fresh, fresh means young, because you're still a child, she means. Vanessa, Ruth, I'm 20 years old. What time you be home from school today? Vanessa says, kind of late. Madeline is going to start my guitar lesson today. So she's telling her mother that she's going to have a guitar course, learning to play the guitar. And this is something that Ruth and Mama do not understand. Why would a girl spend her time and money on learning the guitar? What is the use of learning the guitar? So Mama says, what kind of lessons? Guitar. Oh, Father, how come you don't take in your mind to learn to play the guitar? And who tells you that you should learn to play the guitar? I just want that. It's all. That's all, Mama. Lord, child, don't you know what to get tired of this now? Like you got tired of that little do it yourself. How long is going to be before you play acting group and you joined last year? And what was that last year before that? And Ruth is going to the horseback riding club for that. She thought that 55 cents dollar. So they are commenting on beneath them, learning different things. Now she has a plan to go to guitar course. Before that, she acting group, so theater. She went to a theater group and she was acting in different plays. And then she stopped doing that and she went to riding horses, horseback riding club. And she paid $55 for that. And then she stopped doing that. So they said, why you are just flipping from one thing to another or flitting, they call it flitting. Yani doing something and then stop it and then doing something else and stop it and wasting your money. And what are you doing that? And Benita says, I just wanted to learn to play the guitar. Is there anything wrong with that? Mama, ain't nobody trying to stop you. I just wonder something why you has to flit. Flit means change from one thing to another thing all the time. You ain't never done nothing with that camera. Oh, she has also some course in learning photography, camera. I don't flit. I'm not jumping from one thing to another. I experiment with different forms of expression. It's very strange the way she answered. I am trying different words, different ways of expression, expressing. And then Ruth says, ride horsing or riding a horse. People have to express themselves one way or another. What is that you want to express? For Mama, what is this doing? Just wasting time and money over things. But for Benita, she is trying to act and see if she likes to be actor. She tries to play the guitar and see if music is her own thing that she wants to be in. She tries to do photography and see if she's gonna get interested in photography. Of course, she wants to study medicine, but she's trying to different hobbies and different things. She doesn't want just to hear about photography or hear about riding horses. She wants to live the experience and learn about it, which is something that Mama and Ruth feels she's wasting her money and she's wasting her time because there's no benefit from those things. And then she speaks about George Murchison, who's a rich young man who who likes Benitha, and he wants to go out with her. She's dating him, and Mama also likes him. Um, and Ruth is advising her that this is the best person you can see, you can get married to because he's rich, and you should just think of him about seriously. So um, those are the important things that I think we need to know about Benitha. Okay, here's nice thing. Benitha says, I just mean here. Oh, I just mean I couldn't ever really be serious about George. He's so shallow. Means he's not intellectual. He doesn't care about photography or horse riding or philosophy or politics or the rights of the black man and segregation. Doesn't like anything. He just like to have fun, go to theater, go to party, music, enjoy his life. So Ruth is shallow. What do you mean he's shallow? He's rich. So for Ruth, it's okay if he's shallow. He's rich, and that's the most important thing. Ruth, I know he's rich. He knows he is rich too. So he also knows he's rich, and he's proud of himself being rich. Well, what's other qualities a man got to have to satisfy you, little girl? So if he's rich and you are not happy, what else you need? Benita says, you wouldn't even begin to understand. Anybody who married Walter could be possibly understand. It's very funny. She said, you are married to Walter, and Walter, yani, he's a trouble by himself. So that's why you cannot understand. Let's see what else she could say. Important thing. Okay. Okay, here. Benita says, as for George, she's going to tell us more about it. Well, George looks good. He's got a beautiful car. He takes me to nice places. As my sister-in-law says, he's probably the richest boy I will ever get to know. And I even like him sometimes. But if the youngers are sitting around waiting to see if their little Benny is going to tie up to the family with the Murchison, they are wasting their time. Means she will never marry him. If the younger means if her family, because it's the family name of her family, youngers. If the youngers think the little Benny, their daughter, is gonna marry the family of Murchison, they are wasting their time. Means she will never marry that man. So Ruth says, you mean you wouldn't marry George Murchison if he asks you someday? That's a pretty rich thing. Honey, I know you was old. You mean you are old. You are very strange. No, I would not marry him if all I felt for him was what I feel now. Besides, George's family would really like it. Why not? Oh, Mama, the Murchison are honest to God, really, real life, rich, colored people. And the only people in the world who are more snobbish than rich white people are rich colored people. I thought everybody knew that. I have met Mr. Murchison, she is a scene. Here she is speaking about the family of George, the rich family of George, Mrs. Murchison, his mother. And they are very snobbish. Snobbish means متكبرين, because she said, well, the rich white people are horrible because they are very snobbish, متكبرين. The second people come after them is the black rich people who are very snobbish, very arrogant, think themselves they are higher than everybody, above everybody else. And she said, I have met Mrs. Murchison. Mrs. Murchison is the mother of George. She's a scene means she is so artificial, so snobbish, so arrogant. So she might also not approve her son marrying simple women like Benita, not rich or not from a big family. So this is something that we need to know about black people. Even the black people, they are arrogant among each other. The rich black people feel they are superior, higher than the poor black peoples, and they might not approve marriage between rich families and poor families. So that's something that we need to know about um, Benitha and George Murchison she is dating. Yeah, here is very important because Benitha is going to talk about her own future, right? She wants to go to medical school. Oh, I probably will. This five, page 506. But first, I'm going to be a doctor. And George, for one, still think that's pretty funny. So George think that the plan of Benitha to be a doctor is a funny thing because he thinks too much study and dealing with sick people is not a good thing. So he does not see this plan as a nice, good future plan. I couldn't be bothered with that, so she doesn't care about his opinion. I am going to be a doctor. And everybody around here better understand that she's so determined to go to medical school. Mama Kandi, she's so happy to see this. Yani, her daughter is having this beautiful future. Of course, you're going to be a doctor. Honey, God willing. God willing means inshallah. And Benita is going to say, God hasn't got a thing to do with that. God has nothing to do with my plan to be a doctor. God has no role to do in my plan to be a doctor. That's a big thing to say for her. Mama says, Benitha, that just wasn't necessary. You shouldn't say that. Benitha is insisting now, well, neither is God. I get sick of hearing about God. She says, I'm tired of hearing about God, God, God. God has nothing to do with that. So she is just expressing her opinions, which is very liberal. And her mother is very religious and she doesn't like hearing somebody speaking about God in this way. So she is shouting at Benitha, says, Benitha. Now Benitha again is going to insist. I mean it. I'm just tired of hearing about God all the time. What has He got to do with anything? Does He pay my tuition? Which means, does God pay for my money for my college? Mama says, you about to get your fresh little jaw slaps. She's about to beat, means I'm about to beat you. If you say one more thing. Ruth, that's just what she needs, all right. Then Benita says, why? Why can't I say what I want around here like everybody else? So she's behaving childishly, like a teenagers when they rebel. And she, sorry, she says, I can say anything I want. Mama says, it don't sound nice for a young girl to say things like that. You wasn't brought up that way. Me and your father went to trouble to get you and a brother to church every Sunday. So we take you to Sunday, we want you to have faith and respect to religion and God. Benita says, Mama, you don't understand. It's all a matter of ideas. And God is just one idea I don't accept. So this is a new generation. Benita represents a new generation. With this generation, it questions argues about everything, including God and religion. Now, for Mama and Ruth's generation, they don't argue about God. They don't ask questions against God. They don't talk bad or even says, does God exist? Does God does not exist? They don't ask these questions. They have deep faith in God and they follow what God says. But for Benita and her generation, she rejects many of the ideas, including religious ideas. And she's saying more about that. It is not important. I am not going out and be immoral and commit crimes because I don't believe in God. She says, if I don't believe in God, it doesn't mean I'm going to go and kill someone. I don't even think about it. It is just that I get tired of Him, of God, means getting credit for all things the human race achieved through its own stubborn efforts. And this is a lot for the mother, the old mother, to understand what she means. That we always praise God because He made us do this and He made us achieve that. And for Benita says God has nothing to do with what human beings are doing. There's simply no blessed God. She says there is no God. There is only man. He makes miracles. This is a big thing to say there is no God. It's a big blasphemy for the mother. So see what happened. Mama observed this speech. She listens to the speech, but she's angry. Studies her daughter. She looks at her daughter and rises, stands up slowly, and crosses, walks towards Benitha, slaps her powerfully, so strong again, crosses them. So she slaps her daughter on her face. After there is only silence, and the daughter drops her eyes from her mother's face, and Mama is very tall before her. Mama says, now you say after me, in my mother's house there is still God. Say after me, asking Benita to repeat. In my mother's house there is still God. So Benita says, in my mother's house there is still God. She repeats after the mother. She's weeping because she did not expect her mother to slap her. But she got that punishment. She listens and she repeats to correct her mistake. In my mother's house, there is God. This shows how Mama is a woman of faith and she does not want any blasphemy, any words against God said in this house. And she punishes those who rebels like Benitha. She's young. She's still, as Ruth says, you are still young and you acted like a child and you got what children deserve. She goes and defies her mother and says bad things about God. So she was punished by her mother for this. And then she regrets and she um, does what her mother wants her to say. So that's very important to say the difference between the two generations and how Benitha is thinking, her ideas, liberal ideas, her thoughts, and how the mother feels about. I think those are the most important ideas in this act. You are responsible for the rest of the act. Anything else, and for the story of Act 1, there's any dialogue I did not talk about, you should read and understand. And I put many things on model as well, but those are the important the ideas that you need to know about the characters and their plans and the main ideas in this